Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I have been able to come into school for a short while to pick some things up, and I thought I'd make a little video about what I was going to do with you today. And in Friday's lesson, we looked at laboratory safety rules, and the homework that I had given you was from this book, which I know all of you have taken home with you and have it with you. And we were looking at this picture. This was what we did on Friday, and you were supposed to say why some of these situations are unsafe, and you had to do that over here, and I said you could color this in. So I'd like you to do two things for me. So if you have finished this, could you take a photo of this and upload it onto Google Classroom? I'll set it as an assignment so I'll know you've done your work. And so that's one. And then the other thing that we are going to do today is just look at some of the common laboratory equipment. And since I'm in this lab, this is a different lab, not S7. This is the lab I always teach in. It is SP3, so that's why it looks a bit different. So I'm going to hold up some of the laboratory equipment and tell you what their names are, and then I'll also draw the two-dimensional diagrams for them so you'll know what's the right way to draw them. You can pause the video at any time so that you will get an idea of how to draw the correct equipment. I know your booklet already has some pictures, but I just thought if I show you what the real thing is like, it might be better for you. And I also know that there's some space here to draw some of the things, but I'm just going to show you some more things. Okay, so in a laboratory, we always use safety glasses while doing experiments, so they can actually comfortably go on top of your glasses as well. But I'm going to take this off now because I'm not actually doing an experiment, but I'm just pointing out some things to you. So there's loads and loads of things in a lab. So I've got a whole lot of things here. So if you look at this just looks like a container, but if you look closely, it's got a little beak, and this is called a beaker. And it tells you how much of liquid it can hold. So this one can hold about altogether 100 mils. If you fill it to the top, you can kind of measure how much. This is a smaller one, so you can see what this one reads. You also have beakers coming in all sorts of sizes. So this is a 250 ml beaker, and this one is a really larger one, which can hold 600 mils. So just turn that around because it tells you what's the volume of the thing it can hold. So that's what beakers look like, and the reason why they're called beakers is because it's got this little beak here, so it's easy to pour a liquid in a thinner stream so it doesn't spill all over the place. So I'll put the beakers away. And then you can hear the sound of glassware. Then we have something like this. So these come in all sorts of sizes. And hold one more up, these ones. These have got what we call markings. They're called graduations on the side, and this is called a measuring cylinder. So this actually tells us how to measure the volume of liquids. And when you fill a liquid in it, you've got to the surface of the liquids I'll teach you when you come into school. It's not horizontal, it's curved, and the surface of the liquid is called a meniscus. And we look at the bottom of the meniscus at eye level. So when you hold it to take a reading, we don't hold it down or we don't hold it above us. In order to get the correct reading, we always hold things at eye level. So this is a measuring cylinder to measure the exact volume of liquids. So this one goes up in steps of 1. So at the moment I have got about 37 milliliters. Okay, so that's this. And pour the water out. Just take these back. Now then we have something that looks like this. We've got a few of them. We're not going to use this a lot, but this is what's called a gas jar. So when you need to collect gases from some experiments, we collect it in here, and then we put a grease ground glass plate over it. So that's covered with a round plate so that the gases remain in here and you can test them. Okay. Now we got this one here. This is the shape of a cone, and this is called a conical flask, and this comes again in all sorts of sizes, but I've just got one here for you to look at so you know what that is. This thing here is called a filter funnel, and a little later when we'll be separating mixtures, we will be putting the filter funnel on the conical flask to separate a mixture so that the liquid comes through. Okay. We have a few more things. So these look similar, but this one, the fatter one, is safe to heat. So when you want to heat small quantities of chemicals, we put them in this, and this is called a boiling tube. This one is called a test tube. We don't really heat much in a test tube unless it is it's safe to do so. And in order to hold a test tube or a boiling tube, we have this thing which is called a test tube holder. And when you're holding something in a test tube, you always point it away from you. And when you want to shake something in a test tube, we just shake it gently like that. Okay? Or you want to heat something over a Bunsen flame. So if you press this, if you press it, it becomes wider. So you've got to press and then release and then just gently hold it. So that's a boiling tube. The little one's a test tube, and then going associated with that is a test tube rack. So this is what it looks like. And so when you have some chemicals in it, so the fat one, the boiling tube, goes there, the test tubes go here. When we are all done with an experiment, we wash up, clear up, and then in order to dry them, we invert them over this. So this is what we do in order to dry them. So once they're dry, we put it away in the tray. So that's the kind of a drying rack. One of the little rods is missing here. Okay, so that's a test tube stand or test tube rack. And these are boiling tubes, test tubes. Okay. So we have this. This is a thermometer. It's filled with alcohol, and this is used to measure temperature. And at the moment, the temperature here in the lab, the windows and doors are all closed, so it's about 21 degrees. If you can see clearly, okay? Right, that's so these are made of glass. They're breakable, so you have to be really careful, gentle handling these. Okay. These two things are, this is called a watch glass. So the surface is curved, and this is used to observe things. So you can put something here to observe. And this is called a Petri dish. It comes with a lid, so you can close things. So, and these we use for agar place and for studying bacteria and stuff. Okay, so that's there. A few more things. Okay. So sometimes you've got to mix chemicals and you've got to stir them. So this is called a stirring rod. So you've got something in them, so we just stir it. We also use the stirring rod for something called decantation, when we're pouring water gently over the rod into the filter funnel, but we'll more of that later. But that's your stirring rod. That's made of glass. Okay. Now, these are tongs. So if you want to pick up, or we heat, like sometimes we heat things like magnesium wire, which is a very bright flame. So you want your hands protected. You don't want to get hurt. So you kind of, I've just got this one. So you want to pick things up with a tong. So these are tongs, which is different from test tube holders. Got a little dropper. When you want exact quantities of a liquid, you can kind of control how much you take it by just putting it drop by drop. And this one's like a spatula. So this is how we take chemicals, just very, very small quantities at the tip there, like very small. Okay, so that's a spatula. It's made of steel. Okay, I think that's about all the laboratory equipment I have for you now here. And I'm just going to stop this video. I'll draw a diagram and then I'll put it on. Otherwise, it'll become a very large, long video. Okay, bye for now, and I hope that helped.